We're talking about a war for the very soul of a nation, a time when a country literally went to war with itself. Today, we're diving into the story of the Spanish Civil War.
So, think about it. What happens when a country just can't agree on its own rules? Well, in the 1930s, Spain's answer was absolutely devastating. We're talking about a conflict that left scars for generations. And as you'll see, it became this terrifying dress rehearsal for World War II.
Okay, so to really get how this all kicked off, we gotta rewind a bit. Before a single shot was fired, Spain was already a battlefield of ideas. We're gonna dig into the deep, simmering disagreements that were just waiting to explode.
So here's the deal. Back in 1931, the king left, and just like that, Spain became a republic. Now this was a huge change. For some people, this was amazing. A new era of freedom and progress was on the horizon. But for others, it was a super dangerous break from tradition, something they felt threatened the very fabric of their nation. You can just feel the tension, right? It was absolutely explosive.
I mean, just imagine the biggest family argument you can, but on a national scale, where nobody is backing down. You had the rich versus the poor, you had the modern, buzzing cities against the traditional, old-school countryside, and right in the middle of it all, you had two super powerful groups, the Catholic Church and the Army, and both of them felt like their power was slipping away. These weren't just little political debates, you know. This stuff cut right to the core of what people believed it meant to be Spanish. And that's the thing about a civil war. It's just so brutal. This wasn't Spain fighting some other country. Nope. This was Spaniard against Spaniard. Literally neighbor against neighbor. You can imagine the kind of conflict that just tears families and whole towns apart.
So all these huge disagreements, they eventually split the entire country right down the middle, into two main teams. And here's the crazy part. Both sides truly believed they were fighting to save Spain. They just had completely, totally opposite ideas for what its future should look like. So let's take a look at who these two sides were. All right, this really breaks it down for us. On one side, you've got the Republicans, sometimes called the Loyalists. They were all about defending the brand new democratically elected government. And on the other side, the Nationalists. This was basically a rebel group led by the army that wanted to tear that government down. Now, the Republican side, wow, they were a real mix. You had liberals who just wanted a modern democracy. You had socialists and communists who were fighting for a workers' paradise. You even had anarchists who, didn't really want any government at all. So what in the world held this kind of fragile team together? Well, it was the one thing they could all agree on. They were against the old guard and this military takeover.
The Nationalists, on the other hand, were a totally different story. They were a team of more traditional, conservative groups. You had a huge chunk of the army's leaders, people who wanted to bring back a king. The super powerful Catholic Church, which was talking about this war like it was a crusade. And you also had this fascist-style group called the Falange. They were all united by the things they hated: communism, new liberal ideas, and the thought of different regions in Spain getting too much power.
And then, in July of 1936, all that tension just snapped. A bunch of army generals, with guys like Franco leading the charge, launched a military coup. They thought it was going to be a quick victory, in and out. But nope. The government and its supporters fought back, and they fought back hard. And that attempted coup just spiraled into a full-blown, brutal civil war. Okay, so this timeline gives us a quick flyover of the 3 years of fighting. It all kicks off with that coup in '36. A huge major event was the Siege of Madrid. The capital city held out against the Nationalists for more than 2 whole years, which is just incredible. The war dragged on and on, all the way to April 1939, and that's when it finally ended with the last of the Republican forces giving up. Now, this was a huge moment right at the very beginning of the war. The Nationalists' best troops, these really tough soldiers called the Army of Africa, were totally stuck in Morocco. Why? Because most of the Spanish Navy had stayed loyal to the Republic and was blocking their way. So, what do? The solution was a massive airlift, actually the first of its kind in history. And who provided the planes? Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. Right there, that was the signal. This was not just going to be a Spanish fight. Yeah, the war in Spain basically became this giant magnet for all the big ideas that were clashing all over Europe at the time. Other countries weren't just sitting back and watching. Oh no, they were actively picking sides, sending guns, supplies, even soldiers. Spain was turning into what we call a proxy war, a battleground for other countries' fights. And that help was a really big deal. Franco and his nationalists got a ton of support from Hitler's Germany and Mussolini's Italy. Germany's Air Force, this group called the Condor Legion, was a total game changer. It gave the Nationalists a massive advantage in the air.
But the Republic wasn't completely on its own. The Soviet Union was their biggest supporter, sending over tanks, planes, and military advisors. And then there was something really remarkable: the international brigades. We're talking about 40,000 volunteers, regular people from over 50 countries, including the US, who believed so strongly in fighting fascism that they traveled all the way to Spain to pick up a rifle and fight.
And this quote, it just nails the feeling at the time. People were looking at what was happening in Spain. You know, German planes bombing cities, Soviet tanks rolling through the countryside, and they were thinking, oh man. They saw it as a terrifying sneak peek of a much, much bigger war that everyone felt was coming.
So after almost 3 years of just non-stop brutal fighting and incredible suffering, the war finally ground to a halt in 1939. The Republican side just couldn't fight anymore. Their resistance collapsed. But the price that Spain paid, it was absolutely catastrophic.
Just look at that number, 500,000 people. It's just staggering. And we're not just talking about soldiers dying on the battlefield. That number includes thousands and thousands of regular people, civilians, who were executed by both sides or killed in bombings. It was a tragedy on a scale that's hard to even wrap your head around.
And the cost, the human cost, didn't stop there. As it became clear that the Nationalists were going to win, hundreds of thousands of people who had supported the Republic had to flee for their lives. A lot of them ran across the border into France, and many ended up in these terrible refugee camps. So many of them never got to go home again. So, the end of the war, it wasn't a happy ending with a return to normal life and democracy. Not at all. It was the beginning of a very long dictatorship. General Franco set up his own authoritarian government and ruled Spain as the caudillo, or leader, for almost 40 years, right up until he died in 1975.
And this is why this war is so important to learn about. It wasn't just some isolated conflict. It was basically a live fire testing ground. The weapons, the battle tactics, the clashing ideas, all the stuff that was about to swallow the entire planet in World War II, it was all tried out here first.
They tested out some brand new, absolutely terrifying tactics. Take terror bombing. The bombing of the town of Guernica became infamous around the world. It was one of the first times that planes were used to deliberately target and scare civilians. And that horrifying tactic, it was used again and again in World War II. Pilots also developed new ways to fight in the air, and armies figured out just how devastating it could be when you coordinate your tanks and your planes to attack together.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. The Spanish Civil War was really a perfect storm, wasn't it? It started because Spain was so deeply divided against itself. But then, other countries jumped in and poured fuel on the fire. It was this huge clash of ideas, fascism, communism, democracy, that ended with Franco's long dictatorship. And maybe most importantly, it was a dark, scary preview of the massive global war that was literally just around the corner.
You know, when you look at it, the story of the Spanish Civil War is this really powerful reminder of what happens when disagreements are allowed to just boil over into violence. It really leaves us with a big question, one that's just as important today as it was back then. It's something for all of us to think about. Thanks for joining me for this.